All right, guys, welcome to the third week of our front-end development bootcamp. So I remain Samuel, like you guys already know, and I'm on the call with Juliet. Should in case you have any concerns and you don't want to post me, feel free to drop a message in the chat section. She can always pick it up and then draw my attention if need be, and then even respond to you if necessary. So today we're going to be discussing an amazing topic. In the past week, we've been looking at HTML. We've done a lot of things playing around HTML. And today, we'll be looking at trying to make things very beautiful. I believe you can still remember this image when we talked about HTML just being the backbone of our web development. It's like trying to build a human being. And then we say it's like you use HTML to structure the skeletons, right? You just form the human being. So the skeleton now, the funny part is, the skeleton is going to determine if the human being is going to be tall or is going to be short. Yeah. So if he's going to have a big head, a small head, yeah, or a medium head, or an average head, let's just call it average, right? And so basically that's just the work of HTML. So like we discussed in our first session, the CSS now comes into play to give this human being beauty, right? It was just a bare bone, bare skeleton. So we need to add some flesh, put some skin color, put some complexion, wear this guy some fine clothes, right? So that's where CSS now comes into play. So basically, we'll be focusing more on CSS today. So let me just close some pile of documents I have on my screen so that I can go ahead and share my full screen. So we'll dilute all of what we have to do. Okay, as usual, I don't know if maybe during the course of the week, any of you guys were able to practice something and then you encounter any blocker that you want me to address to before I launch into the section properly. Emmanuel, do you practice anything and then encounter any challenge you want me to take a look at? Jeffrey?
No, not really a challenge, or just something that I saw when I was doing some research though.
You saw what?
I said not really a challenge, but something that I saw when trying to look at form template online. So like the one we thought, I don't know, the ones I saw, almost everything I saw online, like the level always had the for attribute and the input line always had the ID attribute. So I was wondering when we're being taught, like, I don't know, is it okay, like when you're making forms and then you leave out those attributes?
I like that. Don't worry, I'll show you what those guys actually are doing. That's good. So next time if you come across things like that, feel free to ask, right? Don't keep them to yourself. They are very important. Sometimes maybe during the course of the session, one could skip. And then remember this thing, it's very broad. Like there's a lot you can do with some of these things. So don't even limit your knowledge to just what we do in the class. Do your research, encounter any blocker. It's normal, bring it on board. We'll tackle it and then fix it and then we move on. Don't worry, we'll look at that before we launch into the section. I'll show you what all those for an ID mean. Hello, Jeffrey. Are you there? Jeffrey, can you hear me? You're muted, but I can't hear you. I think someone dropped a message. Jeffrey, I can't hear you. Are you still with us?
I can hear you over the headset, but I don't know why it's difficult for you to hear me.
Okay. If you're using a headset, you could. There's a setting you may have to. I don't know. Can you? Oh, I know you won't be able to see this part of my screen. Okay, good. But let me try to see if I can guide you towards that. Beside the mute button, there's an up arrow. You click on it and then you select the microphone you want to use. Or maybe you could just disconnect the headset for now. Just but should in case you want to use it during the throughout this call, beside the mute icon, there is an arrow facing upward. Just click on that arrow. You see select a microphone, select a speaker. So for select a microphone, you can even choose which microphone you want to use, right? Either you want to use a system microphone or the headset microphone. So see which one you are on and then try to switch. Or you can see drop a message in.
Yeah, after my mute is start video participant like that,
No. On the mute, there's a side arrow facing upward, an arrow facing upward. Just click on that arrow. The arrow is just on the mute icon, just beside the mute, not on the video. Still on the mute.
I don't know if it's my this. I only saw a pencil sign on it that's above in circle.
Okay, but great. We can see you now. So can you just tell us how your week was and then what we're able to do? Should in case you encounter any blocker, is there anything you want me to address before we launch the session properly?
Basically, you don't have. I didn't pay much attention to the last week's lesson. It was, I think, basically your part that I paid attention to, the div and the likes. I've been following the other videos they upload on YouTube. But one thing I did when I was trying to carry out my research is I discovered that you can also code without VS Code. Well, it seems like it's crude also. I don't know.
I don't understand what you mean by code without VS Code.
That's
Do you mean using another different? Do you mean using another different code editor?
Basically.
Yes. If you remember when we had our first session, I talked about that. If I mentioned a lot of code editors you can use. We have Notepad++, if you remember me say that. We have Sublime Text, if you remember me say that. We don't have Notepad itself, if you remember me say that. We have things like Eclipse, Atom, there are a bunch of them out there. They are code editors. So basically, it's like trying to, if you want to write a note, right? Let's say maybe you're in a classroom and then you want to copy a note. Yeah, let's keep classroom aside. You want to write some notes. Definitely you need a notepad. This notepad can either be a sheet of paper, it can be a sticky note, it can be a notebook, it can be a plain sheet. But the end game is you are able to put something down, write something down, and then you can now pass this thing you have written down to the next person to take and read. I don't know if you get that illustration I'm trying to give. So those code editors are like your notebook. They could be like your plain sheet of paper. They could be like your sticky notes. They could be like your jotters. So you have to write, if you want to write a note, you have to write it on something. So if you want to write your code, you have to definitely write it on something. It can even be an online editor. There are so many online editors, or it could be an offline editor that you download and install on your system, like the VS Code. So I don't know if we are on the same page or what you're saying is quite different from what I'm trying to address.
Where the confusion is. Yeah, I get it clear.
You get it clear now, right? So should in case you get lost, just do well to look at the previous videos. And if you go through the notes I shared with us, I think I treated those things out in the notes. Yeah, I think so. So, any other concern? Johnny K is no longer on the call, but he will have access to the recordings. Okay. So let's launch into the session properly. But before we do that, I'll address Emmanuel's concern and then we proceed. Just a quick check. Juliet is the call record is the call on record. Just a quick check.
Yeah, the call is on record.
Awesome. Good. All right, guys. So let me stop sharing this portion of the screen and share my entire screen.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sorry, the network kicked me out, but I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, welcome, Johnny K. Yeah, so I was asking, were you able to do something during the week? And should in case you did something, what were you able to achieve during the week? And did you encounter any blocker, anything that concerned you that you want me to address? Please, can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes, you can see your screen.
All right, great. So as usual, I'm going to launch up my terminal. As you can see. You can see my terminal, right? Let me zoom in and make it a bit bolder. All right. So, like I said in our previous sessions, I just launched my terminal. First thing for me to do is I want to check where I currently are, right? So I can type the command pwd. I think I've sent us a screenshot of all these commands and then, right, pwd. So after typing pwd, this is going to show me my current working directory. Current working directory. By current working directory, this just simply means where I'm currently at in my system, in the terminal, right? So this is where I am currently in the admin folder, right? So from here, we can now navigate to our desktop. So now you can see the desktop showing here. Remember pwd to confirm. So it's currently showing that we are on our desktop, right? Remember you can type clear to clear up the terminal. So here you can now type ls, right, to see all the folders or folders and files that are on our desktop. You can see these are all the folders and files as we'll be navigating our past sessions. So this is the folder I want to navigate into. Now use the command cd maxify to navigate into this folder and clear this guy. I'm using my second screen, so if you see me. Yeah, so now these are the folders we've worked with so far. We have worked with week 1 folder, week 2. So now we want to go ahead and create another folder using mkd. We call this guy now week 3. So now to check, we do ls, see that we now have week 3 folder here, right? So we can now open the entire of this folder in our VS Code. We can just navigate just into this week 3 and launch it, right? Let's just navigate into this week 3 and launch it. So to navigate into, as usual, cd do week tab 3. So now see we are in week 3. pwd as usual to check your current working directory. You're here, right? So we can clear. I use a shortcut on my keyboard, Command plus L. I think I've showed us that command shortcut to clear my terminal. Instead of writing clear, I can just do Control L to clear my screen, right? So now I am in this folder, week 3. So to launch this folder using VS Code, just type code dot. Remember the dot means current, where you are at the moment. Hit your enter button, and then VS Code will open up. So here is our VS Code. Okay. So here is our VS Code. Now I see week 3 showing. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see clearly. I think this video is not so bad. Yeah, so we can see we are currently in week 3 and then there's nothing inside. So let's drop one file. Can name this file index.html, right? So now, as we've been doing, let's generate the boilerplate. I'm using Shift, pressing number 1 button to get this exclamation. Hit enter to generate my boilerplate. Remember, this is like the title, right? We could call this, we can now give it our title can call this v3, right? So as usual, we use our live server to launch this code and see it live. So all we need to do is click on the live server. Yep, we now have it open here, right? So to work, we'll split our screens into 2 equal halves so that we can see what we're typing, and then we can see our output by this side. All right, so we can reduce this or close it completely. All right. So remember, anything you put in the body section, that's what is going to display on the screen, right? So this is our body. In between the body, as we've always been discussing, in between the body section, I can now, let me put a H1 here, and then I can call this guy revision. So you see revision appearing there. Can put a HR tab to draw a line to demarcate. So basically what I want to do now is I want to address the concern in manual based. It's a good one. So now let me create a font tag. We don't need this action basically, but let me leave it to be there. I'll show you the effect of that action as well. So he mentioned ID and for. Good. So now remember, Piels taught us label. This is the for. I think if I'm not mistaken, she mentioned for as well. But I'll explain this thing, the use of this for, right? So let's say for here, I can now put let me call this guy first. Let me call this first name. Let's say I have it from first name. You can see the label is showing their first name. I don't know if this side of my screen is clear enough. Or do you want me to zoom in?
It's clear.
It's clear, right? Okay, great. Thank you for the feedback. So now I have this first name here. I have the first name here. So then the next thing is I want to put an input field. So this is the input field that enables me type, right? So I can type inside. I can type my first name is Samuel. So yep, I have first name there, right? So now there's a behavior I want you to really look at very closely. I want you to watch my screen now very closely. For me to type inside this place, I have to come and click in this field, inside of this box to be able to type, right? Now, this label, this for, this label is for this input. Let me repeat what I just said. I want you to listen to my words carefully. Like, I want you to listen to the words. This label is for this input field. Let me take that again. This right up first name here is for in quote, for this input field. That's just the definition of the for. Let's put it into practice. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is when I click on the label, I want you to trigger this field. When I click, but now you see if I click on this field, this label, if I click on the first name, nothing happens to this input field. See, I'm clicking, nothing is happening. It's just trying to highlight. But now let me come back here and add an attribute. Let me put the ID. Remember you said ID. ID, let me call it first name. I'm using camel case. Don't put a space in between. Camel. What do you mean by camel? A camel has a hunchback. It starts small and then it's like some sort of sleepy thing, right? So in JavaScript, this naming convention, we call it a camel case. Camel case. Let me pull up my Excalibur. So this is what I'm talking about. I'm saying that naming convention is referred to as in camel case. Sorry. What just happened? Okay, I'm saying refers to as camel case, because the camel has some sort of hunchback, right? So that it should be one word, first name. So I've given that, okay, I'm now saying that this ID, no, we wouldn't be discussing more of IDs and classes today, right? This ID in simple terms, yeah, let's bring it back to the layman. When you have an identity card, for example, those of us in Nigeria, you have your NIN number, for example. It's like an ID. Okay, let me bring it back to phone number. Your phone number is like attached to just you and you alone, right? It's unique to you, right? You have, even maybe at our places of work, we have enrollee's ID, and this ID is just unique to just you, right? So this ID first name is unique to just this field, right? So I'm now saying this label is for this ID. So now the same naming convention I have here, in case I wrote first here, it means here I'm just going to also write first. So whatever you write here in the ID section, that's what you're going to put in the for section. Now, remember earlier on that if I click on this, nothing happened here. But now that I've put an ID and then I've put a for, let me come back and click on this guy. Look at where I'm clicking. I'm clicking on the name. I'm not clicking on the input field. I click. Can you see the input field is triggered? I didn't click on the field. I click on the name. Let's try that again. Now, so if a user comes on board to fill this form, he can click here to now type, my name is Samuel. Or if the user comes, it's just to increase user friendliness, right? If maybe a user just come and let's say mistakenly click here, but this field is triggered for him or her to type his or her first name, right? So clicking here triggers this thing. So that's what you're just saying. This label is for this input field with the ID first name. Manuel, is that clear enough?
It's clear.
Makes sense, right?
Yes, it's clear. Okay, so about the hunchback, like what did you call it? You said hunchback?
Camel case.
Okay, sorry, camel case.
It's a naming convention, right?
Yes.
It's just the way you name things, right? So, like for example, we can have, you see, it starts with small letter AL, last, then name. Then it starts with the first. Now you're trying to join two words. The first word starts with small letter, and then the second word begin with the capital letter. So it's a camel kind of thing, right? Camel case. So there's still another naming convention. You maybe during your research you could come across Pascal case. Pascal. So for the Pascal, you're beginning the first one with caps, last name. So, but in building applications, it still depends on the kind of organization. Organizational standards makes use of the camel case. Yeah, often that's what you often see, especially with JavaScript developers. Then there are a lot of them. There are a lot of different naming conventions. Just check them out. You could see there are some. They write their name. You could see someone write something like last _ name. What's the name of this naming convention? Yeah, just do your research. You see a lot of those guys out there, right? It's just a naming convention, right? So, but whatever you want, it's still going to work here. Let's say maybe let's try this. So now, okay, let me make a deliberate error. So I can call this first. So now see the ID here, now I give it first, but the for, I called it first name. So let me come back here and click. You see it's not working again. It's not going to work. It will definitely not work. These two names must tally. So if here is first, then here too has to be first. So that if I click on first, and then you see it's being triggered. Yeah, so that's basically it. So I believe you're able to pick something from your research. So feel free to explore a lot of resources out there. So should in case you encounter anything you don't understand, that's why you have the community, that's why you have also, that's why you have the support team. Just drop it and then somebody will be there to shed more light for you. I hope that makes a whole lot of sense.
It does.
All right. Jeffrey, are you good?
Yes, I'm here. I'm following.
Yeah. Won't be able to pick something.
Definitely.
Okay, what about the resources I shared with you guys? Have you been even making time to go through them?
Like my case, when I try to click the one here, it brings should I say, a summary of the concept. So basically what I do is I just go on the YouTube and then watch.
That's not good. You see, when you click on the link I shared, what happens?
It comes out just like PDF files summarizing, just maybe like giving a preamble of what's expected of us to do.
That's not good. Maybe before we round up this call, I would appreciate if you could share your screen and then show me what you're experiencing, so I'll know what to do about it.
All right.
All right. So we already have access to this thing. So in the last 2 weeks, we've looked at this guy. We've looked at introduction to web. We've looked at text formatting, and yeah. So in this session, basically, we are going to be looking at CSS, right? So for the first session, before we go on a break, we'll look at CSS selectors, and then we'll look at some advanced properties and techniques in CSS, right? And then I've already prepared, then we'll go on a break and come back to look at this. You already have access to these materials. So if you go through the CSS module, see understanding CSS, this is like what we're going to be covering. And then you have access to the advanced properties. So literally everything here is well explained with code snippet, right? So I'll just quickly run you through how to understand, use those materials as well. But meanwhile, we are supposed to look at HTML tables in our last session before we run out of time. So I'll quickly spin that up and then we'll discuss it. It's quite straightforward, pretty easy. It's very simple and straightforward, right? So yeah, like we discussed divs in our divisions in our last sessions, right? We say they are just containers, they are just basic boxes. You just carry a box, put stuff inside, and then you're now controlling the box up and down. Go this side, come this side, go up, come down. But everything now is packaged as one item for you to be easily move them around. But should in case they were individual items, like just imagine trying to pack all of them, go this side. It's going to be stressful. But if you have them as one box, you can easily move around them, right? So that was what we talked about divs, right? Like you can see in this note, we said there are versatile containers. They are containers. They are nothing so special. They're just containers, right? To just hold your stuff. So now about tables. So we say tables are used to present data in rows and columns. You already know from your normal knowledge of things, when you see table, rows, columns, that's it, right? So even this material, these are the key concepts covered in this material: creating table headers, table rows, table attributes. We've talked about attributes. When you hear the word attribute, remember I said they are more or less like characteristics, right? Human being has attributes, has skin color and the likes, right? So creating tables is pretty straightforward. You just use table element. TR stands for table, row, and then blah, blah, blah. Don't jump into it, and then you see all of these guys in action, right? So if you go through the material, everything is pretty straightforward here, as you can see, right? So let's go back to our VS Code and write some code. I'll just cover my screen. Excuse me. Sorry, let me get rid of this thing blocking my view. Great. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the form. So I can just comment this out. Remember, we've talked about comments. Comments, they just null code, right? So I'm pressing Control// on my keyboard to comment this out. So you see, that is gone, right? So I'm commenting this as well, because that was just to address Emmanuel's concern. So we'll start with tables, right? So we're going to do tables. So we have tables, and then we can draw our HR line breaker. All right, so now what I want to be doing now is, instead of showing you just note or telling you what we'll be achieving, I want to be converting those things into lines of code. So the good part is, the more you see me write the code, the more you understand how to apply it, right? So that you know how to even use it in different scenarios. So now this is how we're going to start. We've talked about a P tag. We say, okay, we can say tables. So now P tags are like, we want to write a paragraph. Tables are used in structuring our content in rows and columns. So that's how we have written a P tag. You understand what that means, right? So now we said that I want to write another paragraph. So if you want to write another paragraph, you put another P tag. So now we can now say that here are some of the HTML tags to be used when structuring, when using tables, for example. So when using tables, that's another paragraph, right? Okay. So now here are some, which means we want to make a list of some items. Remember, last session we used list. We talked about list, and then we go back to the note. If you get lost at any point, check everything you need is there. Go to your where's that? List. Where are you? Where are you? So, but basically, remember we said we have ordered and unordered list, right? So yeah, reason why I'm jumping back to this notice, so that you want to work, you encounter any blocker, you can always feel free to. Yes, this was the thing we talked about. List, we talk about ordered and unordered list, right? So right now we want to make a list. We want to make a list of the HTML tags to be used. So in our notes, we say we have the table. Yeah, it's not difficult to locate, right? We can always come here, scroll down, you look at tables. So these are the key things we want. Table. So you need it, okay, we need a table tag, you need a TR, you need a TH, and then you need a TD, right? So let's go and make a list of that, right? So now say that, okay, we want to make an unordered list, right? So unordered, UL. So remember, every list item is an LI, right? So say we have the table attribute itself, we have the table tag, see, we have the table tag, another list, you see we have the TR tag. So let me call this table tag. We have the TR tag. We have another LI, which is list item. We have the TH tag, right? Then we have another LI. But again, what are we missing? TD. Yeah, we have the TD. Oops. TD tag. Yeah, so we just made a list. Remember, if you want to make this thing to be numbered, you just have to change this from unordered to ordered, and then you have your numbering. Yeah, we'll discuss all that, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and structure our table. Can draw a line to do a demarcation here. So let's go ahead to structure our table. So to structure our table now, we want to put all of these guys into use. So remember, we say table has rows and columns. Let me come to my Excalibur drawer. Would this guy allow me to draw a table? Let me see. So let's say, okay, this is my table. My table has, this is a row. I'll duplicate this guy. This is 2 rows, right? So, and then, this could serve as maybe a column. Yeah, this diagram may not be so perfect, but please bear with me. I just want to give you good visuals. This is another column. This is another column. So this is like we have one row, two rows, 1, 2, 3 columns. Let me remove the mini box, right? So we can manage this as a table, right? Okay, so let's try to implement this using all these tags you have gathered here. The parent itself, the parent itself, let me bring this up. Yeah, you notice that this row and column are inside a parent container. That parent is what you now refers to as this table open and closing tag. That's the first item we have here now. So all of these guys are inside this container called table. So to structure a table, you have to put everything inside the table. So this table is like this framework now. So inside the table, this is a row. So how can you define rows? The rows are defined with TR. So TR, so this is a row. This is one row. So if I have 2 rows, it means I'm going to have 2 of these guys, another TR, 2 rows. So if I have 3, I'm going to have 3 of these guys, TR. Okay, if I have, shortcut time, if I want to do 2 of these guys, I can just do TR, *2 on my keyboard, and then I've generated 2 of these guys. You don't expect me to start writing 1, 2. I'm that lazy. I'm not lazy anyway. Those shortcuts just makes you fast, right? So I just did whatever element you want. And let's say maybe I want like 2 of P tag, and just do P *2. Hit enter, you see you have 2 of them. If you want 3 of them, you can specify the number and then you have what you need, right? So TR *2, in this my case, I have 2 of these guys now. So we use shortcut. So now we have 1, 2 rows. These are the 1, 2 rows. Those 2 rows, there is 1, 2, 3 columns. So this row 1 has 1, 2, 3 columns. So this row, this is our row 1. It has 1, 2, 3 columns. So I can now come here. Columns, how can I specify columns? Columns are specified with what? TD. That's what, okay, let me put this here and call this column, and then call this guy row, and call this guy main container. This is the main container. T-head. Oh, come to T-head. All right, T-head, this is like heading. They are like the heading, right? So should, in case you want your table to have headers, that's where you now use this T-head. Now we'll try using it and you get to see how it works. So let's come back to this basic structure. We have 1 row with 3 columns. So inside the first row, in between, I have TD, which stands for what? Column. TD. So let me put number 1 inside. Let me have another TD. Let me put number 2 inside. So let me have another TD. Let me put number 3 inside, right? Okay, let me show you what we have. For me, I like visualizing a lot. Okay, so this is what we have. 1, 2, 3. You can see these guys arranged in this format. Somebody say, hey, we can't see the border. Like, to put the border is pretty straightforward. Just come to this place, put border. This is not a good convention, right? It's not a good convention. The better way of doing this is to use your CSS. But HTML still allows you to, put this border, right? So you can now see the border around it, right? So inside of this guy too, we need 3 of the TDs as well. So let me put as 3 of them. So the first one, I can now say, let's make this thing look better. Let me call this guy serial number. Okay. So meanwhile, let me put an H2 here and call this names of of two students in the class. The names of students in the class, you can see that appearing there. Put HR, just, put that. So names of students. So this first place now, this is my serial number, right? So this second place now, I can call this guy, let me just put it name, but you can collect first name, last name, and the likes. I just want to keep it straight, name, and then I can have, let's see, maybe email here. So you can see all of this guy coming up, right? So here, serial number, the first, number 1. So this is the first row, right? First student in the class, his name is Samuel. His email is s@gmail.com. Let me copy this, I will need it. Okay, so now, this is just it, right? So if you need another, you want to add another student, TR, and then we have 3 of these guys. Sorry, let me just do a shortcut. TD, asterisk 3 of these guys. You can see 3 of these guys. This student number 2 on the list, his name or her name is Juliet. And then our email is j@gmail.com. You can see we have started populating this list, right? So you can have tons of this thing. So remember, I think we've tried this in our previous session. I want to just duplicate this thing. I believe we understand the structure. So to just make this thing look a bit long, I'm using a shortcut, Shift-Alt, pressing the down arrow key to automatically duplicate this thing, right? So we could just change this name 1, 2. So this could be number 3. This can be number 4. This can be number 5. So we have generated this. This is a basic table structure, right? So if you're going through your notes, let me see what we have there. You can see, this is the T head part of it. We'll go back and use T head. Okay, great. Let's just use T head here. So for this guy now, let's give, instead of having it as just column, we can call this guy, this is like the heading of the table, right? So this is like our TH. So now there's a little difference to this thing. Can you see that this one I gave a TH? You see that it's appearing bold. That's the browser understands that this particular section is a heading. Now it just gave it some sort of default structure, right? Styling, right? Let me say, okay, this is, you can see this one too is bold, this one is not bold. So let me call this guy also T head. You can see the structure well drafted out, right? So without the border, you still have a table-like structure. Let me see where. So you still have a table-like structure. The border just gives you Command Z, just gives you those demarcations, right? So this is it. So if you're going through your notes, what will you possibly see? We have explained this guy how it works. We've talked about rows, and then you can see the columns, right? And then the individual cells. So everything is well explained here. The T head is used to define table headers, CR, table rows, then the attribute co-span, row span. We'll look at that now too. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let me paint another scenario here. So let's say we have a table here. So this is a table. Then, okay, let's say this is our row 1. Let's just have 2 rows and work with it. Second row. So this guy now, it has 1, 2, 3 columns. So these are like our columns, right? These are like our columns. So then the second guy has something very funny. The second guy now merged these 2 columns as one. Let me duplicate this guy and then have 1 column here. So this is another different scenario, right? So the table, the first row has 3 columns, second one has 3, quite all right. But just as these first 2 are merged as one, how can you achieve that? That's where your column span comes into play. Let's go and see that in action. Okay, so let's implement that. Let's add one more TR and do that there. So let's, okay, I have another TR here. TR, you see that the former guys have 3, but this one now, for this one, we want to merge these 2. So we can just have, so instead of having 3 TDs, we are going to have 2 TDs as 32. Yeah, let me put something here. Let me call this cell 1. Cell 1. And then let me call this other guy cell 2. Now, yeah, you see they are fitted, but there's a mismatch here. Something is not right here. So how can we now make this guy span into that guy? So that's what we'll now come into this place and put this attribute called column span. So span this into 2. See, you can now see it now span into 2. You specify the number of spans you want to get. Should in case you just want, okay, let's say maybe we want to have another TR down. We want the TD below to span the entire width, right? Let me call this, let me call this footer, for example, footer. So here we can now put something called, we can now use that attribute called span, but we want to span it into 3. You can now see it has spanned the entire width into 3. So that's where this, when you're going through your notes, that's where this call span comes into play. The number is just specifying how much you want to work with, right? So there's another guy called row span. Yeah, right about it. Okay, for the row span, let me show you how it works. Let's draw it. Let's paint another scenario. Row span. You have a table. Row span. Okay. Okay, yeah, this row span down to this place. Would this work? Yeah. Then let's we have this guy. This makes sense. And let me duplicate this guy and bring him down here. Please ignore the width of these my rows. They are supposed to be even. We'll duplicate this one and make it look even a bit. Yep. There's something like this, right? So now this is a row. Visually, this is how you should see this. This is like one row here. This is like another row here. Great. Yeah, I like this. This is like another row here. So, but now this row is spanning down to the end. Let me remove that and put another one. Okay, let me put these guys in color. Not that. Not this. Okay, yeah, good. You now see that this row, this column is spanning down. You could have tables looking like this, right? Let's say this is another cell here. Let me color this guy too. All right, great. Yeah, so this could be like, this is another cell, right? So let's try to implement this and see how that works. All right, let me do that in the fresh table. So remember, I think I once showed us this. You can just come towards this edge, collapse this, right? So that I don't want to start having plenty lines of code. Let me put an HR here. Can you put a H2 and call this H2 row span. So this is row span. So like we did, to structure your table, all what you need to do is start with table. You have a table there, you have a TR, and then inside these TRs, you can have TDs. Let's say we have 3 of TDs. Let's have 1, 2, 3 written inside them. If you need a border, always come to this guy, specify border, just give it 1 pixel, 1, it's fine. So this is just like the width of the border. If I give it 2, do you see how thick the border is, right? So this is just like the width of the border. All right, so let me copy some of these guys here and use them. Okay, let me just use this to save time. Dump this guy here. So we have this structure, right? So the next row we want to drop now, let's say we have, okay. Let me paint this. Okay, maybe I have another TR below here. TR below here. This is what I'm going to do. I have this TR at 2. There are just 2 columns inside. So let me put cell 1 here. And then let me put cell 2 here. So they are all here, right? So basically what I want to achieve is I want to push 1, 2 to this side and then allow this number 1 drag downward. So I can just come to number 1 here and say, okay, row span. Row span. Those things sometimes you even hear the name of the attributes. They should even tell you what you're supposed to do. When they say something is spanning, it's like the thing is extending to another dimension. Row span. Okay, extend this row to the second row. Yeah, that's it, right? So column span, extend the columns. So once you just hear those names, they should kind of ring a bell, right? So row span the row, right? So now we can do 2, specify 2. Can now see we have it here. That's just it. So basically, guys, that is it for our tables. I don't know if anybody has any question. Hello, Precious. Welcome. So guys, any question on tables? Any question on tables? Emmanuel, do you have any question on tables?
Not really, no question though. It's quite clear, very clear. So
Jeffrey, any question on tables? Because me, I have a question on tables.
I won't lie. This place is a bit confusing for me. Everything there, because if you see the syntax, you say row span, you say TD, and everything just begins to happen the way it's happening. It's a bit confusing for me.
Okay. Let me just run over this one more time. So after this, I'm going to drop Precious. Good afternoon. It's fine. All right, so after this, I'm going to drop. I'll explain this and then we'll try to do something. We'll try to also launch our VS Code and then design a basic table and share with me. And then we share a screen and then at least try to do it by yourself. It's okay not to get it at the first time. I've also been on this thing. Yeah, I've been on it for working with this thing. Yeah, basically I read code for a living, right? I code for a living. So it's because I do this thing for a living, that's why it has become a part of me, right? So it's the more you do it, the more you get to know how to do it. So I'll go over it one more time, and then I'll give us 10 minutes to also implement a basic table. And then we'll proceed before we can proceed. I hope that's fine. If that's fine, you can give me a thumbs up, drop a message in the chat.
I'm not joining with my laptop. Lights is a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, that's still fine. That's still fine. I don't see that to be a big problem, right? You're still going to use a laptop to do it. And then, you see the way I've splitted my screen, right? You can split your screen the same way I've splitted my screen. And then take a screenshot of this and drop it in the chat. In the WhatsApp group chat. I think that will make sense. So you can just look at your screenshots. How about that?
It's okay. It's okay.
The thing is, I just want us to try these things, right? It's best we try it out. It's okay to make mistakes. Feel free to make all the mistakes. If you don't make the mistakes, there's no way I'll be able to guide you. Like, you have to make them, then I'll tell you that, oh no, this was not right. This is the right way to go about it. Then that's how learning happens, right? But sometimes if you're scared of making the mistake, then learning may not happen. So let me go over it one more time. Tables are quite straightforward. Yeah, they can be very tricky at times. So let me push all this code upward, right? So to start your table, all what you need to do is write table, hit enter. That's table. Inside the table has rows and columns, and then they even have headings. But even those headings are like they are rows. It's the row that you call this is the heading part of the table. There are still rows. So that's why you can now say, okay, TR. So this is my row. But inside this row, what I want to have inside this row is a header. So I can now say T head. TH, that's for table head. TR, table row, right? So inside this row, I can now have maybe I can now have first name, right? So now I can then have, let me put the break here so that this guy will not mess up with our work and put plenty of this. And so that, yeah, I basically wanted to make some space, but I don't think that's working. So what I would do is I'll just comment everything that is above. Let me just comment all of this. Let me comment all of this too. Let's first name comment for crying out loud. Okay, this is the first name. Yeah, okay, great. So now this is a table, right? It begins with table container, a table, TR, table row, TH, table header. So I want to have like, let's say 3 headings. So I can have another TH called this guy last name. Let me use last name. So I can have another TH called email address, right? So I want to give you the border for demarcation, for just demarcation. So we just call this border, and then this like one. Remember, this is like just the width. You're only trying to specify the width of the borders, right? So you specify border. So now this is one row. I want to have another row where I want to put the actual data. So now TR, table row. So here now I want to put a column, TD for column, right? So the first name is Samuel. The last name is ORTIL. This is capital O. Then the email address, another TD is like s@gmail.com. So you can see this is a row table. And that's just the basic structure, right? I hope that makes sense. So if you can have as many rows as possible just by doing this. So the first thing I want you guys to do is you're first going to design a simple table like this, just a basic table like this with your name in 3 places. Let's increase this. Let me add another TH here. TH, call this guy serial number. So now you see, because the number of columns doesn't matter, that's why you're now seeing this piece here, right? So we'll just come down here and add another TD on top and call this is number 1. So we could just copy this guy, paste it here, paste this guy here, and then put, this is my number 2, this is my number 3, right? So then finally, I'm now having a TR where I can put just one TD inside. So I now want to span the entire column. co-span. How many columns do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I now specify 4 inside. So it now has span. Though inside I can now say, okay, this is my table. Or I can just say, okay, let me put the copyright here. Copy. Sorry. I mean, this should be this. So now I see this is going
Hey,
to
Sammy.
be...
Hello, Sammy.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we have 15 minutes for the break.
That's fine. I'll catch up with you. Thank you. All right, so now you can see this symbol I just used. This symbol is the one that gave me this copyright sign here. So I can now say, okay, space. I can now write my name, Samuel O'Teal. I just put the bar, table, design. So now you can see it here, right? This is just me spanning. So these guys, we are going to take a break right now. So the essence of the break is not break, right? The essence of the break basically is for us to use this time to write the same thing I just did, like do this thing and then share a screenshot of it in the WhatsApp group, right? So that when we come back, we'll take a look at what you have. Should in case you encountered any blocker or should in case there was something you didn't understand, we will address it. I hope that's fine. Jeffrey, is that fine by you?
It's okay, but I still won't be able to because I'm not at home and I'm at work basically. But I will definitely submit mine once I am home.
Do you know I'm smiling?
No.
As a developer, there's something I've learned over. There's what this skill does for you. It does make you a problem-solving kind of person. Now that you know your PC, what if I tell you I still have a solution to this problem?
I'll be very happy to hear it.
Also then, okay, I want to tell you that you can write this code on your phone.
Okay. On
Yes?
my notepad.
No, even on your notepad. There is I'll check my phone quickly and then drop a screenshot of there is an app you can install on your phone. And then it gives you a platform for you to type those codes and then you can even see the visuals.
Okay.
Yeah, sometime when we started learning how to code, no good laptops. We are writing on paper and sometimes we use our phones. So sometimes you go to a cyber cafe, you can use the desktop and then do all the funny things. But when you go home, no access to a good PC, mostly plug and play PC. I can remember that I was using a HP Pavilion, an old Pavilion, funny heavy Pavilion that if you plug it, if you touch it, it's even going to shock you, right? So if there's no light, it's either you're writing the code on the paper or you're writing it on the phone, and then you can get to see it. So I'll quickly check that and then send you a screenshot. You can even use that, use it to try. Emmanuel, any challenge from your own end? Because I'm ready to solve all your problems.
No challenge.
Also, Precious, I know we are good. Hello, Precious. Precious, she has left us. All right, guys. So let's take a break and then try to work on that. Emmanuel, also get in touch with that thing.
Sorry, my network is bad.
Okay. So I hope we are on the same page. Would you be able to do that and also submit? Okay, but should in case you can hear me, kindly also try to implement that. If you're not on your PC, I'll still send a screenshot of that app, and then you get to try to use it and then do all those codes. I'm still going to be here. I'll leave the screen the way it is. Yeah, I'll leave it the way it is. I'll just turn off my camera and then play you my collection, the one I listen to when I'm working.
Okay, hello Samuel. With the time
Yes.
for the classwork you gave them and the break, when do you think you can come back?
I think we should be back in the next 20 minutes is fair.
Okay.
So that, yeah, but I'm still going to be here.
That should. Okay, that is 3:10.
Yes, 3:10, exactly 3:10. I'll just turn off my camera, go grab
That's cool.
a cup of water, and that's it. All right, guys, enjoy my collection. Hello, guys. Please let me know if you can hear me. Oh, Emmanuel, can you hear me? Johnny K, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great, awesome. Yeah, so I'm here to see your screenshots.
Send a screenshot or share my screen.
Okay, I thought you joined the call with your phone. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can share your screen. Let me stop sharing so you can do that. Okay, I've stopped sharing. Can you share yours? Let's see what you have. Wow. Emmanuel, you can share your screen now.
Which of the tabs should I click on? Is it the screen tab or?
Okay, to share your screen, after video, you can see share screen.
So should I click on screen or?
Yeah, click on screen.
So
Wow. Yeah,
this was what I did.
Wow, this is nice. Well done.
Yeah, this was also what I did.
So how was the experience?
Well, since I practiced ahead, so like I studied the material ahead, so
Okay, that's
so
good.
coming into the class today, it was just like a revision for me, and then maybe seeing some other new concept as well.
Okay,
So,
great. All right, well done. That's nice, well done.
so
All right.
I just had to put the copyright marker on today.
Yeah, that's good. Well done.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks. All right.
So I can start sharing now.
Yep, thank you. You can.
Yes.
Who's going next? Jeffrey dropped out. Precious has already shared hers. She used her system to, sorry, she used her phone. Wow, this is impressive. That was the, she said it was the, what do you call it? The mobile app I shared that she used in designing what she had. That's great, guys. All right, well done. That's awesome. I don't know why Jeffrey dropped out, but we hope to have him back soon. And then maybe he can tell us what he was able to achieve. So let me share my screen again and then continue. Okay, so this is what we've done so far. So at least I can close this guy now, and then we'll look at our CSS node. So let me call this guy. What am I going to call this guy? Let me just call it home.html. Right. Can change this to home. Okay. So for the CSS module, basically, we're going to be covering understanding CSS selectors. Basically, this is what we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at CSS selectors, element classes, and ID. Look at some advanced selectors, basically, right? Then we'll look at some advanced techniques. Okay, if time permits. Let's see what we can do before we run out of time. Sorry, Juliet, what time are we supposed to end the session?
This Juliet is not on the call. The session is supposed to end by 4.
By 4:30.
Yeah.
So we have barely 1 hour, 8 minutes.
1 hour. Yeah, just one. Let's just say 1 hour.
1 hour. All right, that's nice. Okay, let's see what 1 hour will do for us. So we're looking at these guys now. CSS selector, element, class, ID, blah, 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 blah. Okay, let me just run through the notes. When you're talking about selectors, our patterns used to select and style elements, define elements. Let me just give you the layman definition. It's just like an identifier. A selector is like an identifier. It's like a name you give something and then, or give somebody, and then you want to use that name to identify that person with. Let's say you could maybe have friends, have friends that you could give them nicknames, and once you call that specific nickname, this person knows that, oh yeah, it's me you've been referring to, right? It's me you're basically referring to. And then, yeah, so that was just what these guys are, CSS selectors, right? They're just identifiers, no biggie about them. So and then we have different ways we identify people, right? We can, in an organization, you could even identify people with their unique identity numbers, for example. Yes, you can identify people with their unique identity numbers. So these are what we're referring to here as IDs. So then in a classroom, in a school situation, you can see identify, a group of people with with their class name. You can say, okay, primary 1 student, come decide. You see, all primary 1 students will just form the line, decide, I remember when we were in primary school there. So primary 1, join your queue here. Primary 2, form a straight line here. Primary 3, form a straight line there, and yeah, things like that. Oh, then join the line according to your height, things like that. It's cool, right? So basically, you could identify people with that in a particular class, and then you could identify people with their unique identifiers, that like their unique IDs. Like, and then when you're talking about IDs are basically unique. They are unique. My ID is different from my colleague's ID number, and yeah, the likes, right? So that's just how it works. When you're talking about those selectors. And then the first one we have on these selectors, we see we have elements. You know what elements are? They are like those tags, those names. So when you're calling a P tag or a P element, yeah, that's an element. So you have classes. By classes now, it's like the typical scenario I just gave us earlier. You can give people or particular elements a specific class, and then all of them in this class call this side. Then you can give them specific IDs and then call them by their IDs, right? So those are like the basic selectors. So but if you go down this material, you discover that we also have what we call advanced selectors. So let me just run a recap of quick intro into this material. So this is just how you call the element selectors. This is the name of the element. And when this was a H1, you call H1 and give it the style you want to give it, right? And then as when this was, this for class, we call them using the dot symbol. Then for ID, you use the hash symbol, right? Great. So now for the advanced, I'm just running, we'll see how all of this is going to work. I'm just running through this material so that in case you're going through it, you understand what's happening there. Then for the advanced selectors, attribute selectors, Okay, we have attribute selectors under advanced selectors. We have pseudo elements under advanced selectors, right? So for the attributes, remember we've talked a lot about attributes today. Attributes. Remember, attributes are like characteristics. And when Pels was taking us on inputs, when I was also giving a summary of our session, I mentioned we have input elements, but these input elements have different type attributes, right? They are all input elements. A black man, a white man, a chocolate, a light skin, whatever you want to call them, they are all human beings with skin color. But now their skin color differs. All input elements have different type attribute, right? So you can even call a specific element using its attribute and style. Okay, I know this is what I'm trying to say. I know that there are so many input tags on this particular page, but the one with a type text, for example, is the one I'm referring to, right? Then there are pseudo elements. For pseudo, we have the before and then the after. Those are like pseudo element selectors. So they allow you to style specific parts of an element. Specific parts. So you want to style after an element or before an element. Yeah, those are what we're referring to as the pseudo selectors. Yeah, so basically that was just it, right? So let me open up this thing is blocking my, it's covering my screen, sorry. Let me see if I can clear that. Here's my button. That's just young man, excuse me, please. Okay, great. All right, so let me pull up our Excalibur as usual. Excalibur. No, we will use VS Code to be better off. All right, so I created a new file, this guy. So we'll be writing all our basic codes here. So boilerplate. All this is still week three. So using the normal convention, we learned semantics. So header, inside this header, we can have our H1. We call this CSS. And CSS stands for cascading. What do we say stands for? Cascading style sheets. Like we already know, it's why this guy not showing. Okay, great. So it's just a style sheet, right? To give beauty to our HTML structure. So to give this beauty, like I said, we make use of CSS. And then to style these elements, we now use different kinds of selectors that will just run through, right? So let me put an HR here, for example, right? So then, what is the format in writing this CSS now? There are basically two ways you can write CSS. So let me put the main here. Let me put p tag. Let me use as h2 tag and call these methods of writing CSS. So we have basically three different methods actually, right? So let me put a list here. So this is an ordered list here. This is an ordered list. So we have three different methods. So we have the inline approach. So this is an li. We have the inline method. We have the inline method. We have the internal method. We have the internal method. And then we have the external method of writing our CSS. So these are like the three different methods of writing CSS, right? Inline, internal, and external. So we use these three methods, and so we can see how they all works. All right, so we can, okay, great. So I can wrap all of this guy and put all of this in a container called a div. Basically, I just want us to start using some of these things for Flex. See, it does not change anything, it's just a container. But you see, if I collapse now, I see, if I delete this div, I mean, I've deleted everything. See, right? So they are just wrapped in the box. Let me undo to bring back our code. Yeah, so this is it, right? So these are the three different methods of using div inline. So how do you use inline? Let's say maybe I have, let me put the h2 here and then call this guy, instead of h inline method, instead of h2, let's put this in h3. So using inline method, and just put this HR. Okay. So to use our inline method, let's say I have, let me put the div. Remember, our divs are more or less like container boxes, right? They're just boxes. So let me put all of this inside our box. Okay, this is what I just did. See, this is a box. This is another box. So you see, we have one box here, two boxes, and all of these are inside main. All of these guys inside header. So basically, let me split this out properly so you can see. So this is what we just have. We have a header, we have a main. Inside the header, there's a H1. This is this thing you're seeing here now. And then this line here is inside the header, right? Collapse it. So every other thing below here is inside main. So inside the main, there's this section. This one we have here now. This is it. Right? So you see, let me delete it, you see. See that particular section is gone. Let me undo, bring it back. So you see, that's where we have this H2 that's here, and then this list that are here. They are all inside this box. So the next box, we just have this line on top, this line on top here, and then this H3, which is this guy, and then this line below it, which is this one now, right? So now let's go inside. So you can nest div by nesting. I mean, you can put another div inside this guy, right? So now we have dropped another div inside of this guy. So inside this div now we can put our p tag. That's okay. Let me just generate a lorem text. Lorem 20, for example. It's just a random text. Lorem 2 space. I just generated this random text. So guys, this is a random text we generated. Sorry, just give me a second. Just a minute. Let me grab a cup of water. I'm dehydrated. Just a minute, please. Okay, guys, I'm back. All right, Emmanuel, your hand is raised. Hello, Emmanuel. Are you talking?
Yes, and yes, sorry to interrupt. So the mic
Your voice is faint. I could barely hear you.
due to the generator noise, I don't know if you can hear me too. Due to the generator noise, I don't know if you can be a little bit loud. Sorry to stress you. I'm actually using earbuds.
You don't know if I will be a little bit what?
Louder, maybe a little bit louder.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry to stress you.
No, it's fine. It's okay. No worries. I should have been using my mic. I don't know where I dropped it.
That's my issue, but
all right. It's better, right?
yes, it's better.
Okay, great. Okay, so like I was saying, all of these guys are just in a container. All of these ones too are also in a container. So this is the container here. See, right? So now this text, I now put this text in a div, in a p tag, which is in in this div. Remember, div are just like containers, they're just like boxes, right? So I just put this. So the good part is this allows me to put another div, another p tag here. You can see, right? So now, if in case I can come here now. Remember, we're doing inline. So for you to write an inline style, you just need to type the keyword style. Then you have this. This is style. So now, in between this quotation mark, you can start doing whatever you want. You can do things like, okay, I want to have a border, right? Column. You can specify, okay, the border should be like, let's say 2 pixels. 2 pixels, it should be solid. And then it should be, now you can see you have a border. And the border is 2 pixels, right? I think I'm going extreme. Let me take it bit by bit. So let's say maybe I want to give this whole box a background. I can have something like background color. You can see, right? So there are different colors. Let's say I pick this. You can see the whole of this box. Now, but assuming this p tag is not inside this box, Command X, let me put it outside of the box. You see, it's not taking that dimension. So because everything inside this box is going to automatically take that background, right? So that most times that's the essence of putting things inside divs, right? So that I can easily control all of them. See, now I've given all of this a box. So now because these edges are touching the wall, there's another attribute called padding, right? So now to continue on this line, you put a semicolon. What semicolon means is this like the end of this particular command. In literally, yeah. I don't want to say all, but I think, let me just permit me to say all. Literally all programming languages understand this semicolon. It serves as it's like the end of a command. It's just like when you're writing a paragraph, when you put a full stop, anybody reading and here gets to the full stop knows that, oh, this is the end of this sentence, right? So semicolon just serves like, okay, this is the end of the command. So next command can follow. But our VS Code can allow you now with the evolution of these technological languages, you can even write most languages without even putting the semicolons, and then they still get to work fine, right? All right, so the next command can now put something like scanty padding. Would call this thing, let's say 20 pixels, for example. So you can see now it's giving us a space on the top, space sideways, and all of this, right? So you see, you can even curve these edges of this border, and that's called, remember, semicolon marks like end of that command. Border radius, that's like curve the radius. You now specify in pixels. Okay, let's say 15 pixels, for example. You can now see that these edges are curved, right? Let me make it more curvy. You can see 25. So you can even change the text color, right? So semicolon marks the end of this command. So you could use color. And then you want to, let's say, have this as your color. You can see as the text has changed to that, right? Let's say maybe you want a red, you just specify red. You can see all the text color has changed to red. But let's go with black so you can see everything. So basically, this is just how you write inline. You begin with the keyword style. You now specify the first command, semicolon ends that. Second one, semicolon ends that. Third, and then in that order. Right? So you can literally add, even on this guy here, if I want to give maybe some, let's say increase the font size of this guy now, just this particular p tag, I can come here now and say, okay, sorry, let's say style, I can also, okay, font size, I can make it, you can actually specify its size in pixel, like 20 pixels. You can see that this has increased. See, right? You can even give it some sort of font width. Font family is like, a different font type, right? Then font width is, do you want it bold and like see font width, 200, 300 bold, light, and let me make it bold. You can see it's very bold, right? So these are just attributes, right? They are just attributes you want to give to this particular text. You can even make this particular one underlined, semicolon that marks like the end. Could be like text decoration underline. See, there are different decorations you can use. Let me try this dotted. You can just play around with these guys. Let's use the underline. You can see everything is being underlined. So basically, this is just how you write inline CSS, right? Inline. You go to that particular line, the beginning. This is like the opening tag. In the opening tag, you can now write this thing, right? So let's say maybe, yeah. Okay, you can even change the color of this particular one here. You can give this guy a color, or let's give this violet, and so you can see, right? So basically, this is just how you write your inline CSS. So when you're talking about internal, let me close this guy. So now if I want to put it, I can now put a comment here. I can put something like inline method written below. So that if I come and know that, okay, this particular box, everything I did inside was just inline styling, right? So I can come down here. I can now have another div. So in this div, I intend to write internal style, right? So inside of this div, that's what I want to do. So now to write internal, you write that within the head section. Remember, anything you write in the body displays, right? So within the head section, this is the head section of your code. You can see, so I'll put this head. Sorry. So I open this head after my title. I can write something like style here. So style, it has an opening and then a closing tag. So in between the style, that's where I can now start calling this. That's where this guy now comes into play. This selectors comes into play, right? That's where. Okay, Jeffrey say how to generate. No problems. So that's where this selectors comes into play now. So where is the, okay, this is the internal div. So I can now come here, this particular div, I can give it a class name, a class called, let me call it, you can literally give it any name you want to call it. Let me just call it internal dash container, right? Internal dash container, right? So now, if I want to style this div, I just copy this name, internal. So I'll go in between this guy, in between, enter, and then I'll paste that name. But this name is a class. So for classes, it begins with a full stop, a dot. Then to declare your properties, you now put this curly bracelet. So this is what we call, this here is a selector. Inside this curly bracelet, this is where you declare your properties. So those properties have, this is where you do your declaration. That's the right word. You do your declaration inside of this place. So now this declaration has a value and then a key. So what do you want to, let's say I want to give this div a height. So I can now say, okay, height. So this is the property I want to declare. The property is the height. So the value I want to give it, let's say I want to give it a height of 200 pixels. Yeah, we can't see, right? Because there's literally nothing inside. We'll make it visible, don't worry. So to make it visible, let me just give this a background color, right? So that it will make it visible. So I can come here, background color. Let's choose a different background color, a blue one this time. You can see this blue because I give it a height of 200. Let me reduce this height to, let's say, 100. You can see the height has reduced. Let's say I want it to be 50 pixels. See, it has reduced. So if I want it to be 200, see, I have 200, right? So if the same way I want to curve the edges, I can also border, reduce, 25 pixels. See, it has curved. I don't want you to touch this guy, right? So I can give it a margin on top, right? So I can say, okay, margin. So if you see margin top. If you want margin at the bottom, at the left, right, and all, right? So, but this first value margin now, don't get to look at that part. Let's not go extremes. So we want a margin at the top. So I want the margin at the top to be, let's say, 50 pixels, for example. So you can see it has given me a space at the top, right? So now I can even put some text inside this guy. And so maybe I put a sheet to here. Right, I can call this internal CSS. So you can see it's positioned here. Right? So now let me use, there's something on, okay, let me use history. Okay, let's do something. So now let's give this guy an ID. Remember, we have ID selectors too. When we're looking at our notes, see, we have, okay, we have used class selectors. Remember, class selector begin with a dot, period sign, right? So let's do these ID selectors now. So for the ID selectors, but for the ID selectors, so this ID now can call, let me call this title. Title, you can give it any name. So remember we said for class, we use a dot, right? So still inside of this tag, after this first declaration, I'll now paste this name. But this is an ID. So for IDs, I'll use the hash symbol. I'll now put my curly bracelet where I can do my declarations. So inside of this place, I want this thing to be of color white, right? So I can do, okay, color, and say, okay, color, I want you to have a white color, right? So you can see that's changed to color white. You can even position this in the center, right? I can say, okay, I want the text to be aligned in the center. You can see the text is in the center, right? So if I want to have some space, you can even give this what you call it? I'm getting dehydrated. So you can even give this element. You can give this element a background. So I can come here and say, okay, background color. You can give it a separate color. Let me give it a black background. You can see it has a black background, right? See it has a black background. So we can even give it some padding so that we can even give it a height, right? We can give this guy to a height of, let's say, maybe 50 pixels. So you can see, right? 50 pixels. Or another thing we can still do is we can give it a padding. Let's give it a padding to the top. Padding is like we want to put some space on the top. There are good approaches, yeah, there are advanced ways of using padding to achieve better things, but we're just learning, so let's just keep to the basics for now. So we can do padding top of, let's say, 10 pixels. You can now see right there, it's a padding top, but now the down part is still sitting on this black line. So we can even do a padding bottom, padding the bottom to also be 10 pixels. You can now see there's still space in the bottom, right? So we can even go at, so now I've written, this is we have now used class selectors, and then we have used ID selectors. So what's left is, let's try element selectors. So for element selectors now, we could use different elements like, let's try to make a list. Okay. Let's use a H4. I would have loved to use a P. Let me just go ahead and use this P tag, get a deliberate error, and then show you what. This will form part of the learning. Let me not avoid the worst scenarios. So let's say I generate a lorem 20 here. So these are the text, right? Great. Now I want to use the element selector. So remember, all your style should be in between this guy. So I'll come here and put a P tag. Now there's not, then I put my curly bracelet. If it's a class, you put a dot. If it's a ID, you put a hash. But if you are calling an element, you are calling P elements. You're not putting anything. Now this is what we're going to encounter. I wanted to avoid this thing initially, but I say, okay, let me not avoid this. Let me do this thing deliberately so we'll get to learn from it. Now that I've called P tag, every P tag on this page is going to respond. Right? Now let's see. And now let me say, okay, let me give this guy a color, text color of red. Can you see this guy took red? This guy also took red. This one refused to take red. I will explain that later on, right? Should in case, let me put another P tag somewhere else. Let me put another P tag here, lorem 10, for example. You see this lorem also takes, all the color is becoming red. Let me put another P tag, lorem 20. See, this guy too took red. By default, every P tag. So when you call an element like this, just know that anywhere you use it on the page, it's going to respond, right? So let's say maybe I give something like a font size of 30 pixels. See, all of them are going to take that 30 pixels, right? But in a situation where you want to style a specific P tag, you don't want all of them to be doing all of this, right? Okay, you can now, maybe a situation whereby you want all the P tags on this page to have a font size of 15 pixels. That works. Then, but you don't want them to have a color of red. So you can go ahead and remove this red color, right? So, but all of them are going to have the P tag. All of them are going to have a P tag of a font size of 15 pixels. All of them will have, so let's say maybe I want them all to have font size of 18 pixels. All of them are going to have a font size of 18 pixels. But now I want this particular one to have a color white. It's just this inline one. So I could just locate that one. Where's that guy? This is it. I can come here and give it a class name of, let me call it para. Para. Please follow me here closely. There's something I want to do. Para, right? So I can come down here and say, okay, para, it's a class, so we'll put a dot. Para, I want you to take a color of white. So you see, para has taken a color of white, right? I can even give it a padding of, let's say, 10 pixels. See, it's no longer touching the wall. So it's just this one now. Now, but a situation where I want, let's say, let me give this guy a background color of black too. Let's remove this first P tag. So this one here now, let me give it a background. I want to use inline now and give it a background color of black. So this guy now has a background. So I also want it to take a white, to take this same declaration I did for this guy. So all what I need to do is this class I gave this guy here, I can just copy it and give this P tag also, that this P tag due to, I want you to be in this same category of para. You can see that it took that white color and then padding. So is this like saying all primary one students, form a straight line here. So all what I'm saying is all primary one students take a font color of white and then have a padding of this. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So any other, you get right?
The para there means paragraph, that particular paragraph, right?
It's just a class name. You can literally give it any name. You can give it any name you want. I can say, okay, another. So this is another. Let me change this para to another. So I'll go up to that declaration and change this from para to and it's just a name. You see, right? The same thing still happens. I don't know if you understand what's happening.
I understand now. I understand.
Okay, so it's just a name. So what I'm trying to explain here is, let me run a recap of it again. Okay. Let me comment out all of this code. But I believe the inline was pretty straightforward. Right, guys? Okay, this is what I'm trying to explain here. Let's say I have a p tag here, lorem 20. Let me just duplicate this guy. Okay, these are all the p tags, right? So all of them, I want to give them, I want them to be in the same class. I want to give them class year 1. So this first p tag have a class name called year 1. The second p tag have the same class name. The third guy also have the same class name. Does this make sense? Emmanuel, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so all these three, this paragraph and this paragraph and this paragraph have the same class name now, year 1. So any declaration I give to year 1 is going to affect the three of them. So let me go up here, inside my style here now. It's a class, so you put a dot, year 1, right? Put your declaration. You put your declaration. I can now say, all year 1, take a background color of black. See, all of them took it. All year 1, all the text color should be white. See, all of them took it. All year 1, I want you guys to keep some padding of 10 pixels. See, all of them took it. All year 1, I want you to curve your borders. Your border radius to be, let's say, 15 pixels. See, all of them took it. So for class, you can give, but for IDs, like I said, you can only have, every item should have a unique ID, right? So maybe I can come down here. I'll put the p tag and generate another lorem 20. See, it's here. It's not taking this dimension in as much as it's a p tag like other ones, right? But assuming for element selectors now, assuming this was a p, you see all the p's are just automatically took that declaration, right? But class now, see all of them. So now for ID, I can just come here then and give this guy an ID of, let's say, year. Only this guy has this name here. So I can just come here to style IDs. I'll just, okay, remember you begin with a hash, paste that in, and then I can call it, okay, use this guy, take a background color of brown. See, that's taking brown. Also curve your border radius. Border radius to, let's say, 25 pixels. You can see, right? Your text also put a padding of 10 pixels. You can see it. Change the color to be white. Oh, not this guy. To be white. So you have this. So for a situation where you want to have, okay, that we have less than 30 minutes. Wow, that's fast. So a situation whereby you want to style more than one, you want to give the same declaration to more than one element, you can now use it a class. Look, we gave this guy the same class name as this one, the same class name as this one. But if you just want to style one out of many, you can now go ahead and use this one. So basically, this is just how you do your declaration. You put the selector, you now put the property and then the value. I don't know if we have any question.
For a layman's understanding or from how I'm following it, yes.
Yes, feel free.
The class, is it like a universal command that makes everything takes the same attribute, and then the ID is just for a specific command? That's what I want to know.
Okay. Let me give you a little explanation to those three terms. We are talking about elements, class, we are talking about ID, right? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, all of us are human beings. Okay, let me put it this way. All of us are living things, right? So when you're talking about living things now, you are referring to human beings and you're also referring to animals, domestic animals. Let me be specific, right? Are we together? I'm trying to drive a point. Jeffrey, are you with me? Hello, Jeffrey, did I lost you? Manuel, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but my network is not stable though. I can hear you.
Okay, I think we lost Jeffrey too.
It has not been following with the visuals. I can hear your voice ahead, but then your screen only sees later after you have finished talking about the particular thing. That's when it starts following. But I can hear you. The audio is okay, but then I'm having challenges with visual.
Okay, I'll see how we can work around that. Jeffrey, are you there?
I can still go over the class when we're done. I only have problems with visuals. The audio is okay.
Jeffrey, are you with us?
Yes, I just came in now. My network logged me out, so I didn't even hear your explanations. Quite unfortunate.
Okay, in fact, I had to pause. I had to pause when I noticed you were out of the call. Okay, let me bring it back again. So let's continue.
Thank you.
I'm trying to explain element selector, class selector, and ID selector, right?
Yes.
So all of us are living things. When you're talking about, when you're talking about living things, you have human beings, and then you have domestic animals, right? Are you with me?
Yes.
So now,
Yeah.
but all of these are. Let me launch my Excalibur and show you something. I like painting some of those scenarios so that you see them. Sorry, something is on my screen. Let me take it out. Okay. Excuse me, please. Okay, great. Now, This is like a universal box. I want you to look at this box as a universal box. Inside of this universal box, we have this portion called human. How do you spell that again? This. Okay. Okay. We have human being. Then, inside of this portion, we have domestic. We have domestic animals. We also have plants. Because plants too, they are living things. Plants. So all of these guys, we said they are living things, right? So all of these guys are living things. So what I want you to look at all these living things and look at them as HTML elements, right? So by HTML elements, now I mean that if you're looking at this box as HTML elements, it means inside of this box, we have the p tags, we have the div, we have the h1s, we have the h tags, all of them. So these are like HTML elements, right? Okay. So let me go back to so this is like, so all of these guys now, they are like elements. So these are an element. Human beings elements. This is another element. Domestic animals elements. Plants are another set of elements. So and then inside of this human being, let me bring out human beings only and try to split out. Let me bring out this guy. So inside of these human beings, you have another set. We have the male, and then we have the female. So we have the female. So let's look at male like p tags. Let's look at females like like an h1 tag. So if you enter a particular building that contains human being, you're definitely going to see two categories, male and female. If you say all male, stand up, all the males will go one side. If you say all p tags, stand up, all the p tags here are going to go one side. Let me use VS Code. Let me use VS Code. Trust me, you get it. Let me first of all get rid of everything on my screen. That's fine. You're going to get this. All right. So p tags, this is Lauren 10, for example. Let me save this guy. Do a duplication of this guy. Copy. So these are p tags. So let me have another one called h1. Heading. headings. So these are all headings, right? So now, selectors. Remember to write your CSS. Let me get rid of all these two. I think this will work. If we have element selector, so if I say P, every P tag on this page is going to respond. So if I say P, take a background color of black. You see all the P tags took black except the headings. So if I say P, the colors inside, the color of your text should be white. You see all is white. P, I want you to take a padding of 10 pixels. P is going to take that. I want you to increase your font size to 18 pixels. P is going to take that. You see, right? So this is now all the LLPs are responding. The same thing is going to happen to H1. So if I say all H1s, let your font, let your color be red. You see all the H1s. This is an H1 too. This is a H1. All of them took red color. Do you get? So let me go down again and then have another set of guys called H2. Heading 2. Let me duplicate it. 1, 2. Right? So I have H2 now. So for H2 now, I want to put them inside the class. I want them to have a certain category. Back to my SQL job. So P, we have looked at P and H. Let's go down again. So let's say inside of mail, now, I can split out another category. I can say, okay, inside of mail, we have different occupations. I can say I have a set of mails that are teachers. This is like class now. I'm going down to class now. Then I have another set of mails that are software engineers. Software engineers. So if I say all teachers, that's I'm referring to a group of people. So the keyword class is just a keyword to give a distinction, right? To group entities. So let me go back. So these guys now, I can say, okay, class, heading, okay, let me give it H2. So this is a class. So I want to group these people in H2, right? Or better still, let me just group, copy this. Or that. Okay, great. This and this. So now among the H2s, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 H2s. Only 3 of them, I'm giving them this, I'm putting them. Okay, let me give another name. Let me give them teachers. I started. This is a teacher. This is a teacher. So now let's say I come up here now. I say it's a class, so I begin with a dot. Teachers. Among H2s, okay, I'm just saying that, okay, CSS, look into my file. If you see any teacher inside, this teacher can be anything, right? Let me put another tag. Let me change this one from H2 to H3. Remember, this one is a H3, but it's a teacher, right? So I'm not saying CSS, go look at my entire document. Anybody that you see that is a teacher, give that person a color of blue. You see, everything became a color of blue. Even this one that is H2. Okay, anybody that is a teacher, I want you to give that person a font size of 30 pixels. Irrespective of whether it's a H2 or a H3, I don't care. You see, all of them now took the same font size. But remember, this guy is H3. Let me even go there and put H3 on it. heading 3. This guy is history. So, but I've put this guy, in as much as it's history, I've put him into a class of teachers. So anything that is happening to teachers is going to happen to him as well. Then I want to come down here now and give this guy, in as much a unique, everybody, in as much as we are all human beings, we have unique IDs, right? In as much as in as much as Pels, Juliet, and me, there's an I, work with Maxify. We have different enrollment IDs, right? So let's say my own enrollment ID could be EN001, right? So I can now come here. I'm now telling CSS that look into this file. Anybody that has this ID, let's say change this person's color to what? To yellow. Let me try yellow. See. Is it? Oh, yellow goes one up. Two. No colors coming to my mind. Let's try to orange. Yeah, you can see this guy. Nice. Orange. So what I'm saying is, if you want to put things in a particular category, you use class. If you want a thing to have a unique name, you use ID. Or if you want to just call all P tags, all H1s, all H2s, that's where you now go with the element selector. I don't know if that's clear.
Yes, it is.
But just take time out and also try to play with these things and see what you can do with them, right? So I don't know if anybody has any other concern, any other question for us to tackle. So we could maybe end this section here. Let me not give you too much for today. Do we have any question?
My question is, sorry for dragging us back, hustling and learning at the same time, even the environment is not conducive and all of that. So is there like, when we were in school, maybe when you were studying, maybe let's say mathematics, they'll start with binary, they start with indices, you go like that, it keeps getting harder and harder and harder. Or like I did data analysis, and in data analysis, we have project lifecycle, the procedures you take from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3. Is there a standardized procedure one can actually follow when it comes to this too?
Come to what?
When it comes to front-end development.
Okay. Do you mean when it comes to learning or when it comes to development itself?
I think I mean development itself. But I'm being specific because, I'm still new in the field. I don't want to start mixing words, front-end, back-end, USI, and all of that. So I'm specific on what we're learning here now. Like if there's like a roadmap for learning this, after you learn this, you're supposed to learn this, because from you now, sometimes you just be doing something, let's say you're talking about padding, you just go to this, you say, let me touch this, you say, let me touch this. So it's like you had a better understanding of various concepts that accumulated into whatever it is you know now. So if there's a roadmap before, okay, like in data analysis, they'll tell you learn Excel, learn SQL, learn Tableau, learn R, and all of that.
Okay, I get your point. All right. In front-end development, yeah, it also gets funny, tricky at some point. But if you're looking at for development approach and then for the learning part of things, it all boils down to the first level of starting the code, the first level of your learning phase is to understanding the basic frameworks, right? Which I've been trying so hard to see if we could get a grasp of it, which is like you build the skeleton of the site using HTML. You now use CSS to make it beautiful, JavaScript to put some sense into it. So let me break it down forward again. I kind of feel you wanted to ask me, what should you learn in learning HTML? After this, what next, and what next, and what next, and what next? Am I right?
Yeah, I think that's the better way to put it.
Great. Okay, now the material I've sent, structured and sent to you, I made sure I followed sequentially in preparing those modules, right? Then coming to CSS. Okay, the first step now is to understand the different ways you can use CSS, which we have already talked about. It's either you are using it inline, internal, or external. That's level 1. Level 2, how do I start writing CSS? Let me not go into technicals. What is the pattern of writing it? So the pattern of writing it is now what we now say, okay, if it is for inline, you have to first write start, and then you start declaring your whatever here. So now the next other part comes into thinking of what approach to go on with. By that, let me show you what I'm trying to say. Let's say I have a div here, for example, with plenty text inside. So this is the div, right? Now, the next part is, it's more like it's your own initiation coming into play. Like your own initiative coming into play. You could be like, okay, I have this div. It would be nice if this thing have a background color. Okay, so let me put it a background color. So I'm using my inline now. So I'm also, okay, what I want to put is a background color. And then black. Oh, I've put this in a background color of black, and then my text is not showing. I want you to understand that. So now you can even go to your browser and even check. You can check. Something is calling like you. Okay, yeah. How can I make my text visible using CSS if my background color is black? How to make text barely visible on any background color? Let me open this guy. So this is like me trying to approach this like a total novice. This is Stack Overflow. Those questions are too basic. You may likely not even get an answer, right? Because okay, good. Now look at another something that may look like an answer. If the background is white, but in our case is black, the text color should be darker. So here now, if our background color is dark, the text color should be white. Okay, I now understand how to, then the next question I could ask, how to make the text white in CSS. W3 schools. Yeah, this is another resources I could also recommend. You can take your time and go through this in sequentially, right? Comments. Yeah, please go through this. To explain the borders, margins, padding, heights, literally everything, right? So now you can come here, okay. A color property is used to set the color of the text. So, okay, I need a color property. Remember properties. I mentioned property and value, right? So now I can say, okay, the color property is used to set the color of the text. Oh, I now know that. Then there's a sample here, color, blue. Great. All right, let me go back to my code. We have less than 3 minutes, guys. Sorry. I'll try and wrap up. So let me come back. It's okay. After this command, I put a semicolon to end that. So they've told me that there's a color attribute. And then color. So that's a property. So the value now will be, I want the color to be white. White. Cannot see it. Another thing will now tell you that, this thing is touching the wall. See, it's touching here, it's touching here, it's touching here. What can I do? Right? So maybe if you take your time and go through these resources, you can now go come and check. So if you just read through this thing, let's say we have something like padding here. Let's see what the padding is used to create space around element content. Element content around. You can see padding top, padding right, blah, 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 right? Okay. So we can see declare padding top, padding right, padding bottom, padding left. Okay. So let me go back and show you something. So here now, I can now see, okay, semicolon, padding top now. 10 pixels. Oh, I have a space at the top. Great. Padding bottom, 10 pixels. Space at the bottom. Padding left, 10 pixels. The left side. Padding right, 10 pixels. See, you now have space. Let me increase this value so you can see it very well. Let me make this guy 50. Guy 50 also. Make this guy 50. Let me make this guy 50. You can see the contents. But now the funny part is, you see all these 4 lines, we can be merged into one. You can just call it padding, and then it automatically is going to take top, bottom, left, and right. So 50 pixels. Until we see how what we have. So I'll still share a link to this guy in the chat so that you could also, you can just click on HTML here to go through HTML content, CSS, and JavaScript, and a whole lot of other materials that you may want to look at. So I'm sharing this in the WhatsApp group right now. So yeah, basically that will be it. I don't know if anybody has any question to ask. Yeah, just send the link in the WhatsApp group. So do we have any other questions? Do you have any other questions? Jeffrey, are we good?
Yes, thank you very much for the simplified answer.
So please also try to, the thing is.
So sorry to cut you short.
Go on.
So all the method, all the CSS method listed so far, is it that they can be combined or just used individually?
Yeah, you use them individual.
Okay. So if you are using the inline method, you stick to that, and if you are using the internal method, you stick to that throughout.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean. No, there'll be times whereby, okay, now let's say no. Like for example, now I've used inline here, right? Look, I've used inline here. Let me try internal on this guy. I can give it a class and call this class container. Container. This is a container. So this is inline. Let me go up and do internal with this guy. Container. I can go up here and then call this container.
Sorry to cut you short, but my screen is still frozen. That's what I've been experiencing. Like the audio is clear, but then the visual is not following up. Like I can only hear you, but I'm not seeing what you are doing. It only comes after you have finished talking before it starts displaying.
Okay.
That's what I've been experiencing.
Okay, yeah, the simple answer is you can combine inline and internal on the same element.
Like block element and inline element on HTML.
Come again.
Is it just like the block element and then the inline element on HTML? Does it work that way as well?
You can use, I believe what you want to understand is, can I use inline styling and also internal on the same one element? Is that your question?
Yes, that should be.
Okay, let me rephrase. Are you trying to find out if after declaring an inline style, that's a style on the line in the opening tag section, can I as well use internal to style that same element? Is that the question?
Yes, like can it be used simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can be used simultaneously.
Okay.
Whether it's an internal, whether it's a block element or not a block element, it can. All right, so if there are no other questions, I think that will be all for today. I'll try to see if I can share more resources with you guys, but please go through the link and also go through our notes. So in our next session, we'll be trying to pull everything together, and that's the HTML and CSS, and then we'll try to build a basic home page, like a basic landing page in our next session. Right? All right, guys. I think that will be it from my end for today. Do have a wonderful weekend. Look forward to seeing you in the next class.